She was the kindest nurse in the hospital, until the doctor snapped. In front of everyone, he humiliated her. But what happened the next morning left the entire hospital in shock. Everyone in the hospital admired Dr. Stephen Matthews, the kind of doctor who walked into a room and instantly commanded respect. He was brilliant, precise, a man whose hands had saved more lives than most could count. But behind that perfectly pressed lab coat and sharp gaze was a storm no one saw coming. It was on a stormy Wednesday evening, with thunder rumbling like a warning from the heavens, when everything changed. Nurse Emily Carter, young, soft-spoken, and loved by every patient for her warmth and empathy, made a simple mistake in the chaos of an emergency trauma case. She handed Dr. Matthews the wrong patient chart. That tiny error, in the eyes of an overworked, emotionally fractured man, exploded like dynamite. The silence in the room shattered as his voice roared. "What are you doing? You could have killed him," he bellowed. Then, in a moment that would haunt every witness forever, he shoved the clipboard from her hands, and in a shocking burst of fury, struck her arm hard enough to make her stagger back. The room fell into an eerie, breathless quiet. Emily stood frozen, her face pale, her eyes glassy with unshed tears. No one moved. No one dared speak. Dr. Matthews looked at her like she was invisible. "You're done here," he said coldly. "Get out of my hospital." And just like that, she left, her nurse's badge left behind on the counter, her white shoes soaking in the rain, her spirit breaking with every step away from the place she once called home. But the next morning, something no one could have predicted happened. Dr. Matthews, who was always late and never seen outside patient rounds, was found sitting alone outside the hospital chapel, disheveled, motionless. In his hands was a letter, crumpled, tear-stained, and trembling. It was from Emily. She hadn't gone to the police. She hadn't contacted a lawyer. Instead, she had poured her soul into that note. She didn't blame him. She didn't accuse. She wrote about her younger brother, how he died in a hospital because no one cared enough. How she swore she would become a nurse to be different, to bring comfort where others brought coldness. She wrote about her dream to be a light in a place full of pain, and how that dream had cracked when the man she respected the most struck her down. But it was the final line that broke Dr. Matthews completely. "Even though you hurt me, I still pray you heal, because only hurt people hurt others." That day, the hospital staff were called into an emergency meeting. Dr. Matthews stood before them, no longer the untouchable genius, but a broken man. His voice trembled as he spoke. He apologized not just to Emily, but to every soul in the room who had suffered silently in the name of professionalism. He admitted he hadn't grieved the death of his wife, hadn't slept in weeks, hadn't realized he'd been drowning in unprocessed trauma. He said he had become the very monster he once vowed to protect patients from. And then, in an act that stunned every doctor and nurse present, he stepped down from his post temporarily and begged Emily, if she could forgive him, to return and help him build a wellness program to prevent such emotional collapses from ever happening again. 2 days later, as patients whispered and staff held their breath, Emily walked back through those hospital doors, not with resentment, but with grace. She accepted his apology on one condition, that no nurse would ever feel as alone as she did that night. Together, they launched the Healing Hands Initiative, a program that offered psychological support, trauma counseling, and a safe space for the hospital's silent heroes to breathe again. What started as a moment of violence became a revolution of healing. Dr. Matthews went from being the face of control to the symbol of redemption. And Emily Carter, the nurse who had once walked away in tears, became a legend whispered in hospital halls, the heart that reminded everyone that even the strongest can fall, but with courage, they can rise again. If this story gave you chills, if your heart raced or your eyes welled up, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We bring you real, raw, emotional stories that remind us all of what it truly means to be human. Because sometimes, the most powerful medicine is empathy.